small, snowy town, glowing with shimmering Christmas lights, there lived a 10-year-old girl named Ellie. Her house, nestled at the end of the street, was warm and cozy, but something was missing. As she gazed out the frosty window at the snowflakes dancing in the air, her heart held a secret wish. Her mother, Sarah, a kind but weary woman, folded laundry nearby, stealing glances at Ellie with quiet concern. "I wonder if Dad will come home this Christmas," Ellie whispered, her voice filled with fragile hope. Sarah paused, her eyes softening, as she glanced at a photo on the mantle of a man in a military uniform. "He's always with us in spirit, sweetheart," she replied gently, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying the sadness she tried to hide. Ellie's small fingers traced the frost on the window, her breath fogging the glass. "But maybe this year will be different," she said with quiet determination. That night, after dinner, Ellie sat at her little wooden desk with a piece of paper and a crayon. Her face glowed with the warm light of a table lamp. She pressed the crayon firmly to the paper, each stroke slow and deliberate. "Dear Santa," she said aloud as she wrote, "I don't want toys this year. I just want my dad to come home. Love, Ellie." Her little hands folded the letter carefully, almost reverently, before tucking it under her pillow. She gave it a gentle pat as if to seal her wish in place, then crawled into bed, eyes shining with belief. The next morning, Ellie's energy was contagious. She sat on the living room floor, snipping away at sheets of white paper to make snowflakes, their delicate patterns scattered around her like a blanket of fresh snow. "Busy, huh?" Sarah asked, leaning on the doorframe, arms folded with a smile tugging at her lips. "When Dad comes home, I want him to see how pretty it is." Ellie's grin was as bright as the Christmas lights outside. Later that evening, Sarah's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Her face changed the moment she answered it. Her eyes darted away from Ellie, her fingers gripping the counter edge. "Mom?" Ellie's small voice was full of concern. "Is everything okay?" Sarah's gaze flickered to Ellie, and she quickly forced a smile. "Yes, baby. Everything's just fine." But as soon as Ellie left the room, Sarah's shoulders shook with silent sobs, her hand covering her mouth to stifle the sound. On Christmas Eve, the house was quieter than usual. Ellie sat by the Christmas tree, hugging a small stuffed bear to her chest. Her eyes shifted from the tree to the front door, flicking back and forth like a clock, counting down the seconds. The twinkling tree lights reflected in her eyes as she whispered to herself, "He's coming, he's coming, he has to." Then a knock at the door. Her head shot up, eyes wide. Her heart pounded in her chest. She leapt to her feet and dashed toward the door. "Dad, Dad," she called out with uncontainable excitement. Sarah's heart raced as she followed Ellie to the door, hope and fear swirling inside her. Ellie's small hand struggled with the doorknob for a moment before she finally pulled it open. But standing on the doorstep wasn't her father. It was a postal worker, smiling warmly, holding a small package. Package for Sarah and Ellie. "Merry Christmas." Ellie's face crumpled, her heart visibly breaking in that moment. Her eyes filled with tears. "It's not him," she whispered, her voice cracking like a fragile ornament hitting the ground. Sarah knelt beside her, pulling Ellie close and cupping her little face in her hands. "Sometimes the gifts we don't expect are the ones we need most," she said softly. Her words hung in the air like snowflakes that refused to fall. Sarah signed for the package, and together, they opened it on the living room floor. Inside was a small box with a letter on top. Sarah's hands shook as she unfolded it. Her eyes scanned the familiar handwriting, and she gasped quietly. Tears pooled in her eyes as she began to read aloud. "My dear Sarah and Ellie, I'm sorry I can't be with you this Christmas, but I'll always be there in your hearts. Inside this box is something to remind you of me. Love, Dad." Ellie's lip quivered as she lifted the lid of the small box. Nestled inside was a handmade wooden ornament in the shape of a heart. Carved into the wood were the words, "Family Forever." Her little hands wrapped around it like it was the most precious thing in the world. "It's from him, Mom. It's really from him," Ellie whispered through tears, clutching the heart to her chest like a lifeline. That night, Ellie carefully hung the heart-shaped ornament in the center of the Christmas tree. The glow of the twinkling lights bathed the room in a soft, golden warmth. Sarah stood behind her, her heart so full it ached. She watched Ellie's small hands place the ornament in just the right spot, front and center, as if it were the very star atop the tree. "See, Mom? He's home, just like I asked," Ellie said, her smile radiant despite the tears still glistening on her cheeks. Sarah pulled her into a tight hug, her chin resting atop Ellie's head. Her voice cracked with emotion as she said, "Yes, sweetheart, he's home." The camera of life pulled back, revealing the soft glow of Christmas lights filling the room with a warmth that could be felt even through the coldest nights. The heart-shaped ornament gleamed brightly on the tree, shining like a little star, as if it had been placed there by love itself. In the quiet stillness of the house, the ornament slowly came into focus. The words "Family Forever" were clear and bold, timeless and true. This Christmas, remember, love always finds a way home. Share this story with someone who needs a little hope.